You can understand that. What the shit?
That's what I said.
I just don't know how this is supposed to go on. So it's going like that, and I don't care. I got a new friend, 2 new friends actually. I got
Mr. T.
and even better than Mr. T.
Helen Man Murdoch.
Oh. Flying blind in a rocket cycle.
Gordon's alive.
I was at House of Heroes up in Oshkosh last weekend. I walked out of there buying only 2. They had 2 or 3 of From the Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay.
They had Clytus. They had Flash himself.
Nice.
They had Ming. Oh my gosh. They had probably 150 different ones in their store. It was very hard to walk out of there without buying everything.
I managed to get the Hawk Girl from Legends of Tomorrow. That was a New York Comic Con exclusive at Barnes & Noble.
Ah, cool.
So now I need to... I haven't seen any of the other Legends of Tomorrow Funkos, so...
I had no idea that was Rory.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. Not at all. Probably because the show annoyed me so much. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's just there's something with the CW with their writing where it's everyone's a 15-year-old girl when it comes to the level of drama that they all have to always have. So hearing Snart and stuff like that, whining like he's a girl going through her period for the first time ever. I'm like, God, just stop. You're 48 years old, dude. Same thing with Diggle on Arrow. You hurt my feelings. Oh, God, grow up. You were in the military. Really? Yeah. This is the first time anyone ever treated you bad? Nut up. Nut up.
Are you watching Legends of Tomorrow?
I haven't seen any of the new season, but I watched the whole first season.
Okay. Yeah, they added somebody that is of kind of his significance in. I think he joined the Detroit JSA team at one point in time, and they did an interesting thing with him and actually tied him in with the JSA. It's really kind of fascinating. I'm a nerd.
Hey, that's all right, man. I was wetting myself over the new Logan trailer.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, man. I don't have 100% faith in them because they have dropped the ball numerous times with his character. Even the films that I kind of liked, it's still not what I've wanted. So I'm hoping and keeping my fingers crossed because it looks dark, man. And I love their choice of music.
X-23's history is incredibly dark.
Yeah. Well, I had started reading the new Wolverine with her. Okay. That is her, right? I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But she was in Runaways. That was one of her first introduction, I think.
Okay.
Hang on.
Well, with Joan Jett and all of them.
Oh, her first appearance was in Nyx. Oh, yeah, I get Nyx and Runaways mixed up for some reason.
That's okay, Brad. I forgive you.
Yeah, that was like the prototype to Runaways.
Because I don't even know either of those. So,
Somebody's selling issues 1 through 5 of Nyx for $400.
all right.
Wow.
I hate the fact that I had in my possession the first, I don't know, 40 issues, first run of Walking Dead. Or 20, not 40, the first 10 or so.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Well, we should probably do a show or something. Excuse me.
I guess. It's kind of why we're here, I suppose.
Yeah, we could continue to bullshit and not do a show, but that
we got that one Asian dude. What's his name? I don't know if he's Asian, but he has an Asian-sounding name. Who comments occasionally.
Oh,
Asian-sounding.
Yeah.
We got him to make happy. And that other one person who commented.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, Mihoshika.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous.
That's what I said.
No, I don't know if... No, I dropped it. I don't even know where it went now. Because it is so freaking small. I'm not going to bother. So
that's what she said.
This little dude I'm working on, that little guy there, and in the separate piece for him that I just dropped and lost, is a freaking pipe.
Oh, no.
I'm like, are you kidding me? You give him a little freaking pipe? How am I supposed to even attach that? It's like the size of like 1/4 of a pin.
All right, I'm going to start this thing. Yeah, it's a load of horse shit is what it is. All right. Here we go. Hello, and welcome to the 61st gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 23rd of October. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and make sure you have your hand sanitizer at the ready while you are gathered at the meeting table. Say, no guest tonight, but we are going to, maybe you got that from the intro. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about con attendance etiquette. Not to say you need hand sanitizer, but if you want to avoid con crud, or at least make a good attempt to try to avoid it, you want to bring some hand sanitizer with you.
Yeah.
Now, hand sanitizer does not equal etiquette, but we'll get more into what we're talking about. And actually, Glenn, who has far more con attendance experience than I, is going to be leading that discussion. So, speaking of which, the second in command here, as always, is Glenn Bittner. He does a little thing on the YouTubes called the B-Movie Bunker, and he is the creator of the RPG Mistrunner. What's up?
I glued my hand to the desk.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, I pulled it off now, but yeah.
Oh, Jesus swept, dude. You got to be careful with that stuff. For those of you who do not check us out on YouTube, if you are watching us on YouTube, you might kind of see that Glenn likes to paint his miniatures while we chit-chat, and he's actually gluing some together, and you need to have some kind of releasing agent or the solvent for that on hand.
Well, the releasing agent is just me pulling until my hand comes off. Kind of work.
Hey, kids, don't try that at home. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to do a bit of a game review, do some gaming news, and then we're going to chit chat about our topic of gaming etiquette. But right now, we're going to start things off with a new review by Glenn with an interesting game here that I have not seen before. So tell us about it.
So this one is called My Star, and it's MAI-star. It is from Seiji Kanai, the guy who made Love Letter. It's 3 to 6 players, runs about 30 minutes for a game, and is brought to us by Alderac Entertainment, AEG. In this game, all the players take on the roles of different geisha, and you are trying to basically attract the best customers. So you're going to start with a hand of cards, and when you play cards, you can do a couple different things with them. You can use them for advertising, which means you play them to the right of your geisha. Now, every geisha there are 3 skills that they will have, and different guests will give you a boost to different skills, because to attract guests, you have to have the appropriate skill of a high enough level to attract them. So, if you want to attract that guy who takes a lot, you're going to have to put a bunch of guys into basically advertising for your geisha to boost your relevant skills so you can attract the people you want. Many people, when you play them as an actual guest, will give you a special ability. Sometimes they can make someone else discard one of their guests, or you can do other special things like that. The game or a round ends when a player runs out of cards. Then everyone else who has cards left, you subtract the points from those cards from any guest you attracted. And that's how you get your score for the round. You play 3 festival nights, as they're called, or rounds, and the one who has the most points at the end gets the title of My Star. This game, I really enjoy playing it. There are some people who, I don't know, for some reason cringe when they think of geisha, because I don't think they entirely know what geisha were, and they just think geishas were just, they were just prostitutes, which that's really, really...
It's a very simplistic view.
Very, very simplistic, because they were not simply someone to have sex with, and many of them, what they guests will give you a boost to different skills, because to attract guests, you have to have the appropriate skill of a high enough level to attract them. So, if you want to attract that guy who takes a lot, you're going to have to put a bunch of guys into basically advertising for your geisha to boost your relevant skills so you can attract the people you want. Many people, when you play them as an actual guest, will give you a special ability. Sometimes they can make someone else discard one of their guests, or you can do other special things like that. The game or a round ends when a player runs out of cards. Then everyone else who has cards left, you subtract the points from those cards from any guest you attracted. And that's how you get your score for the round. You play 3 festival nights, as they're called, or rounds, and the one who has the most points at the end gets the title of My Star. This game, I really enjoy playing it. There are some people who, I don't know, for some reason cringe when they think of geisha, because I don't think they entirely know what geisha were, and they just think geishas were just, they were just prostitutes, which that's really, really...
It's a very simplistic view.
Very, very simplistic, because they were not simply someone to have sex with, and many of them, what they were visited for was not just for sex. It was for a lot of different things. These are women who were skilled in poetry and musical instruments and song and dance and literature. I mean, they were generally well educated, which was a big part of it, because that was part of their allure. And that's kind of, it shows in this game where you need to increase those relevant skills, because the shogun's not going to just show up at anyone's house. He wants someone who is worthy of his own stature. It's a super cool game, and the game can turn around so quickly. There are some of the really high cost guests that are really hard to attract, that if you can pull this one, like there's one guy, if you pull him off, you basically get to play everyone in your hand. So it's really, really can switch. I mean, he's hard to bring out, but it's really easy to switch like that. And each geisha has a special ability. So when you like draw new cards, like one geisha lets you like draw extra cards and pick what you want. One actually can boost any one of her 3 skills each turn. So if you want to boost one skill to attract a guest this turn, you can then change it the next turn to a different skill. It's really cool, all the different things you can do.
Nice.
It's a nice little pocket-sized game, too.
Yeah, because it looks like it's strictly a card game.
It is strictly a card game. And, oh, wow, I'm an idiot. I had the price, and then I forgot it. I didn't write it down.
That's okay.
This one, I believe, retails for about 24.
Oh, wow.
I gotta double check though because I'm probably wrong. 22.
Nice.
So it's a little harder to find. It did not take off like Love Letter did. So a lot of stores just don't have it in stock.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really fun game, and I think it's definitely one worth checking out. I mean, Kanai just makes really good, fun, and quicker play games.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like the box for the game comes with the cards, and then it also comes with a scoring pad.
Yes.
Which has room for 6 players and the 3 rounds. So.
Yeah, and a 6-player game is. I probably like the 6-player game more than any other version I've played. It really changed the dynamic because you had to pay attention to so much more stuff. When it's only like 3 or 4 people, it's easy to see what everyone else is doing. When you get that 5 and 6, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I didn't even notice what he's doing down there, and now I've got to worry about that person. So in a 3-player game, if I play a card that makes me, I can discard one of your guests. It's easy if I only have 1 or 2 people to pick from. But now if I got to worry about, well, I mean, that one's really good for him, but then down there's a 5-pointer that I could get, and also now it takes on so many more levels where you have to think a lot more about every action you do.
Sure. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much for showing that to us.
Absolutely.
Again, the game that Glenn reviewed is MyStar, MAISTAR. All right. If you want to find out more about what we're doing, by we, I mean the Galactic Network, you can check us out on Twitter. You can like our Facebook page, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can find us by using... I just found how this is written poorly here. There we go. I just corrected the script. Yes, I'm using a script. There's a lot to remember here. Find us by searching for Galactic Netcasts on all the major social networks, or by clicking on the icons at Jesus, whack. I am so not focused right now. It's awful. You can click on the icons in the upper right-hand corner at gncasts.com. Oh, thank God we made it. All right. Speaking of making it and making it interesting, I found an interesting story, and it's the headline for it is How and When to Go Gonzo in Your Role-Playing Game Campaign. And this article comes to us from Mo Lane from PJ Media.
Oh, thought it would be from Hunter S. Thompson, but okay.
That's Dr. Gonzo. We can't stop here. It's backcountry. Hey, PJ writes, I'd start by saying no, not like the Muppet, except yes, actually, just like the Muppet. Gonzo the Great is going to be your role model here. You want to approach this project with cheerfulness, optimism, and an uncritical willingness to improvise, reciting the works of Percy Shelley while defusing a highly explosive bomb. Okay, if you know who Percy Shelley is, then you know exactly what we're talking about here. I am not familiar with the works of Percy Shelley. Mary Shelley, maybe. But there you go. This is the point where many people will tell themselves that they cannot, in fact, do that. So this is the first thing you have to do. Admit to yourself that you can do that. You just know that you'll look like a goofball while doing it. That's fine. Dignity is overrated. Boy, that's something everybody should learn. That's a valuable life lesson right there.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the prerequisite for all of this. Dignity is overrated, at least when it comes to yourself as a game master. Your players may not want to have an undignified role-playing game experience. Then again, they might. If it looks fun, so make it look fun. Remember, you're not being a GM to get fame. You're not doing it to get romantic companionship. Preach it, brother. You're certainly not doing it for the money. And I would politely suggest that you not do it for ego-boosting purposes. You're hopefully being a GM for two equally important reasons. Those are to tell a story and to have fun. Quite honestly, if you're not having fun while you're running a game, you might want to rethink the game or take a break from it. That's truth right there. But Gonzo is more than being funny. It's also, at its best, about sheer, unalloyed creativity. It's the kind of interaction that you have with your players where you all come up with a sequence of role-playing that makes perfect sense or senselessness while a particular scene is going on, but collapses into indestructible nonsense after the fact. Are you familiar with the Atlantean Atuma in Marvel Comics?
Very, very vaguely.
He is a blue-skinned Atlantean, and he is incredibly powerful. I played a Champions game set in the 30s, and I played a fire-based mystic, if you were to take snippets of John Constantine, maybe a little bit of Dr. Occult, maybe a little bit. Of course, those are DC characters, but one of his primary things that he fought with was fire. Now, of course, Atlanteans have a weakness to fire. Atuma is an incredibly powerful adversary, and I accidentally killed him in the game. And that was just sheer luck of rolling, and things kind of went crazy and downhill from there, as you could well imagine. Anyways, I'm telling you about my character, and now is not the time for that. So yes, sometimes you'll play a game and things will get wildly out of hand. I had, like with my Mystic character, in that particular game, we ended up joining like Proto-Shield. So, and he could like do prestidigitation and quick conjuring. So we would hand out business cards. Quincy Risk, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just pop it out. There it was.
Quincy Risk?
Quincy Risk.
That's a good name.
Yeah, I thought it was a good 1930s-esque type sounding pulp hero name for that type of a character. So there you go. Anyways, enough of champions talk here. Let's see. Yes, here we go. So if that's how, then what is the when? Well, I can tell you when not to go gonzo. when you think that you need it to spice up a stale campaign, unless you're planning to end it by going gonzo, bearing in mind that doing so will probably mean that the ostensible goal of the campaign will never be reached. It won't actually fix the problem of a stale campaign, which is probably that everybody's bored with playing that particular game with those particular characters, but nobody wants to say anything because everybody else is having fun. Yeah. Instead, I would recommend waiting until circumstances combine to give you a table full of folks who are all in a merry, relaxed mood, very important, and B, a natural lull in the campaign narrative. Say a point where the party's just gone through the equivalent of Act 2 in the story and are now thinking about how they will go on with Act 3. That's a good place from which to encourage your players to maybe get a little gonzo. Give them some room to indulge in some histrionics, keep the action moving, be very forgiving about the consequences, and hey, they might end up... Boy, who did the editing on this? There we go. Spending 20 minutes having a four-sided argument with you, the NPCs, and each other, completely in character and grinning the entire time. Okay, I've radically cut down this particular article. I would highly recommend you check out the show notes and read this article. Essentially, no game will last forever. That's a foregone conclusion. There may come points in time where I think when we talked with the folks from the web series LARPs, we talked about improvisation and things like that. There are points where if everybody is not just rolling dice to play, they're actually playing their characters, you will find yourself, especially if you're actually LARPing, you will find yourself having conversations in character and things will just kind of get weird due to circumstances as the narrative kind of builds itself as you guys are going through the campaign. And sometimes it will get very weird, and sometimes it's fun just to let things go to see where they take you. Because sometimes, especially if you're running a long-standing campaign, you as the game master can run out of ideas, or maybe you're stuck in a place. Sometimes you move in a direction and you don't see anything outside of that direction. And sometimes, if you let something like this happen, something beautiful can come out of it. And that could be another plot thread that can come out of it. It could be a whole nother narrative. It could be really helping to build character relationships in the game. A lot of magic can come out of a hardcore RPG session where everybody just is their character and doing their thing. And just let it go nuts for a little bit. And, you know, like they say, don't punish people for going nuts. If things go off the rails, you as the game master can kind of rein in consequences, or, you know, just keep things on the track as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this is all about. Sometimes you just got to let things go, realize that even though you're the game master, you have the general overview of what the game should do. The game isn't about you. You're not the one just telling the story. If you are actually with a group of people who actually role play and not just throw dice, they build the story with you. And sometimes you need to just let go and not have full control and let them kind of move things along too, so that they feel that they have kind of a say and a stake in the story, which I think is really important to having a solid gaming group. So what are your thoughts, Glenn, now that I've totally dominated the conversation? I rule with an iron fist. What are your thoughts?
I wasn't listening to anything you said. No.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
No, absolutely. There are times for the serious playing. There's times to just be like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to try this thing. And yeah, at times it can seem absolutely crazy, and even it might even seem out of character for you, whoever you're running to try this weird thing. But sometimes a story needs that. It needs that little kick to. You get complacent. It's
Yeah. Yep.
after a while. It's look, we're fighting. More orcs. Awesome. More orcs. More orcs. Or these aren't orcs. There's something out of, Monster Manual 11 that are basically orcs, but they're blue.
Yeah. And when you're working all together and creating a story, I can assure you that people will remember a game session where they laughed till they cried, and not so much haggling with a merchant. You got a great deal on some hardtack. Well, good for you.
Well, how good a deal are we talking?
It's hardtack, man. There is no good deal on hardtack. Even if they're giving it away, even if they give you money to take it, there's no good deal on hardtack. But if you're in a, okay, for instance, I was in, this is West End Games Star Wars.
The best Star Wars.
From what I've heard, yes, and I'm really glad that I played that. Got into a situation where I was playing a smuggler, a la Han Solo, and I had to land the ship, but things had kind of gotten weird with some of the I can't remember if the computer partially died or what, and I ended up using a force point, and the GM just flowed with it, and I ended up accidentally ejecting a droid into, and it hit another ship and stuck it. I mean, it was just so ludicrous, marrying the die rolling with the role playing. And what ended up happening is a story that I remember to this day, 20 plus years after the fact. So, I mean, things like that happen, and if you allow it to happen organically and just let go of the controls long enough, you can create an experience that people will remember for a very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's all about. All right. Say, if you like what you've heard on this Galactic Network's oh my God, I need a new mouth is what I need. Yes. Hey, let's start over. If you like what you've heard on this Galactic Network's oh my God, I did it again. See, Dave kind of changed the name slightly for the network, and I'm trying to kind of spit out the Galactic Network podcast. That's hard to say all in one go. Please consider helping us out financially by going to gncasts.com/support. On that page, you'll find links to our Patreon campaign where you can make a small recurring monthly pledge of as little as $1. Or you can click on our Amazon affiliate link, make a purchase, and we get a very small percentage from the sale. Again, you can go to gncasts.com/support for all the details. Now, the Kickstarter Spotlight. Last time, we talked about the game Stay Out of My Dungeon! You kids, get off my dungeon. So, oh, good Lord. So, Stay Out of My Dungeon was an interesting game. Let's see. Let me find my write-up here. Players take on the role of goblins trying to defend their dungeon from the greedy king Flumperdump. Players take turns visiting and building various locations in and around their dungeon. Now, when we had talked, they had it 100% funded. They met their $5,000 goal within 5 hours. They are now at 6 times that. They just broke the $30,000 mark. Now, again, this is a 4 to 6 player game. And now that they've broken the $30,000 stretch goal barrier, they are now at the improved card stock and box, which I can't remember if we were, I think we were at the fizzy drink as the new spell, but they've gone 3 more above that. They're kind of at $5,000 every $5,000. There's a new stretch goal opened. So now they've reached the point where they're going to have longer lasting and better quality materials that they're going to be printing the game on. Again, it is $35. There we go. It's $35 is the early bird, and you get a deluxe complete edition with the special loot and all the stretch goals, and that will be delivered. Their estimated delivery is June of next year. So by next summer, and they ship everywhere in the world. So by next summertime, even if you're in Australia, if you're in the EU, you will most likely have your hands on this game. So
sorry, Britain. No.
Well, I think for now, until they've
yes,
they've got a couple of years before they're complete. Well, they might have longer than that, but they're still in there. Wow, what a mess. Kind of like our elections that are upcoming. What a mess. Anyways, enough of politics talk. Hey, Stay Out of My Dungeon is doing very well, and we have a new game that you found that we are going to talk about that has a great name. Oh, okay, yep, tell us about it right now.
You sound a little excited, Brad, for
just a bit.
Bears versus babies. This is from Elon Lee. This is the same people who brought you Exploding Kittens, which myself personally, I didn't think Exploding Kitten was all that great of a game.
What?
It was a
really?
It's average. It's very average.
Oh, okay.
This one I have higher hopes for because it's not just a nifty concept. Because the kitten has already been. I mean, I have like over probably close to a dozen different kitten games at my store right now, yeah, and Exploding Kittens is not one of those. Oh. So, this one though, there aren't many games with bears and babies, and there's no games with bears and babies pretty much in the same game. And now you have it. And this is a card game where you're trying to eat the most babies, which you might think that sounds awful, but you have to realize that you are playing cards to build your bears, which are basically just many different types of monsters. They might have a bear head. They could be a shark with wings and chainsaw feet. So you build your monsters so that you can defeat the horrible baby army. The Bumble Baby and the Great White Baby and the big old diaper baby and the scary hairy baby. So the babies are all napping at this moment. And you're going to build your bears to eat them. And a bear's strength is equal to the number of cards that are in it. However, you can play other cards like Interrupt Nap Time to incite the babies to attack other players. So if the baby army has more babies in it than you have parts to your bear gets eaten by the babies.
Oh, boy.
So they're not just your normal everyday babies. It looks like a lot of fun, and I like the oatmeal. which
Yeah.
if you don't read the Oatmeal, I think it's a pretty fun webcomic. I like his art style. Not everyone does. And they were looking for 10 grand. I mean, they still have 24 days to go. So, I mean, they might make their goal, seeing as right now they're sitting at only $1,426,865. So they're just a little bit over that goal. You can get a copy of it for $25, which includes free shipping if you're in the U.S. That's not bad. They're anticipating a delivery of June of next year. You can get, for $35, you can get the one copy of Bears vs. Babies and a copy of the Not Safe for Work booster pack. The game itself is apparently all ages, pretty much. However, the NSFW booster pack they recommend for ages 35 and up. So I'm curious what's in that, just to think that 24-year-olds shouldn't see this, because I know some pretty depraved 24-year-olds. Just, it looks like so much fun. I like these types of games where I get to build weird things and do weird things, and there's player interaction, so that I can do things where I can do things to hurt other players. I like when I can stab my friends in the back sometimes. As much as I love cooperative games, sometimes I want to play more than that. It looks super fun. I like the art. I don't think they have any. There's the 2 levels. That's it.
Yeah, it's 25 or 35.
There's nothing beyond that. There's no stretch goals, so, which is fine. You don't always need those.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
$35 for the game and a booster pack. I mean, that's not bad at all.
No,
especially when you figure that shipping is included, or $25 for just the regular game. That's a common price now for a card game. So, it looks fun.
And for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, here is a shark that has been constructed. Your monster. They're not just bears. You could have a sloth head. You could have a shark head. You could have a bear head. In this case, the monster that was built is a shark in business attire who sucks at dancing. So the shark is the head. In business attire, there's a torso wearing a suit and tie. And the base, the legs, have music notes around it. And there's just spindly-looking legs that don't really... They look like the legs should be broken, frankly, at least one of them. And the arms, one is a huge, like a crab claw or a lobster claw, and the other one is a chainsaw, is the other arm. And the babies that it's up against is the great white baby that looks like a diaper-clad baby with a shark head, and the Portuguese Mano baby. The Portuguese Man-O-War being it's like a jellyfish, except it lives pretty much on the surface, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Of the ocean, but it has long tendrils that, like a jellyfish, they sting and paralyze, and then they consume their prey. But the body that is sitting on top of the water is a very porcine baby with these little tendrils that are weaving through the water that is underneath it. It's very, very weird. And if you are a fan of the Oatmeal, you understand his art style, and it's very, very weird, very... Puffy is the kind of a weird word to use, but, a lot of things are chubby or lumpy or bumpy. His people aren't like slick designed people. They're very stylized, and it is uniquely his own. Matt Inman is an interesting dude.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Yeah, they were looking for, like you said, 10 grand. They're almost at $1.5 million. So this is definitely a go. I backed it at the $35 level while we were talking, because I have Exploding Kittens and the Non-Safe for Work edition as well. Yeah, I enjoyed Exploding Kittens, and I think that this is going to be even better than Exploding Kittens. So I think it has a high level of replayability. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Super Fight.
Sure.
Super Fight is a game where I'm not sure if we talked about it on here. Yeah, we did. One of our earlier episodes, we talked about Super Fight, and it is a deck game. It is a card game where your objective is to build the bigger, badder creature to defeat your opponents. So this is kind of in the same vein, and you are trying to create a monster to consume said babies.
Yes.
So again, Glenn's Kickstarter spotlight is Bears versus Babies by Elon Lee. And I think that you would not be disappointed if you were to back this. So, all right.
I would agree.
Oops, there we go. So we are now going to discuss our topic for tonight, which is con game playing etiquette. And as I said earlier, Glenn, working in a gaming store as he does, attends a number of conventions and things like that. And he's going to lead the discussion here and clue us in on how we should behave at conventions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been to, as Brad said, many conventions. I've played in many games and conventions with many different people. And sometimes good, sometimes bad. I think one of the joys, at least for myself, of going to a con is that I get to play games with people I don't normally play with, which to me can lead to a more challenging game because, I mean, you have friends that, I mean, and myself included in this, you have specific strategies that you like to use, and sometimes you learn what your friends are, you know what your friends are going to do. Oh, Brad always claims Las Vegas and Ticket to Ride as quickly as he can, or something along those lines. But if you're playing someone you've never played with before, you have no preconceived notions of what they're going to do. Now, as I said, that can be good or bad, which is why you need to maintain some level of etiquette that you might not have at home. You can't trash talk strangers is one big thing. It's just you don't know them. And you don't know what their level of comfort is. And that's one big thing that I see at some cons. I don't see it very often, but sometimes I do, and I'm like, you don't know me, dude. You can't talk to me like that. If we were friends, you know, I mean, there are things I will say to my friends that I would not say to a stranger. You know, you can't, you know, I don't know, I might say something like, you know, stop crying like a bitch to a, you know, to a friend of mine while playing a game. I'm not going to say that at a con. It's just not something you do. You know, it's kind of that, you know, I mean, I'd almost say, you know, would you use it in language of your mother? But I know how some people talk to their mothers, so that doesn't work. But yeah, that's the number one thing is I think don't talk smack. For all you know, this is that other person's first time playing this game.
Yeah.
And, you know, you were in a way, if you're at a con, you are an ambassador for gaming. Because the person across from you, this might be the first con they've ever been to. Or it might be they had bad experiences and, you know, it took them a while to finally say, all right, I'm going to give this another shot. And I'm going to go to this con. And then there you are being a complete asshat. You know, and you want to not do that. You want to make it inviting. I'm not saying you have to pull your punches and not play to win. Play to win, that's fine. But you don't need to gloat. You don't need to criticize things that they do. And don't offer anyone advice on how they can play better if they don't ask for it.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst things. Is see what you should have done is no. Don't do that. I didn't ask for your, if I ask, fine. You can maybe say at the end of the game, if it looked like they were struggling or something, hey, do you want some pointers on this game if you've played it before? You can ask. Don't just start saying stuff.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That's how they might want to play the game. Everyone can play the game the way they want to play it. You are, as I have said before, we're not the arbiters of someone else's fun. So you have to remember that. The other thing is and this is more for people who are running games at cons. If you're going to run a game at a con, don't be a shark. And what a shark is that you are purposely running a game with new players because you know you can beat them. Again, I'm not saying you have to pull all your punches, but one is I've had this happen in games where we're 3-4 rounds into a game and the person running it all of a sudden does something that completely, cripples every other player, and you're like, whoa, you can do that? And they're like, oh yeah, you totally can do that. You never told us that. Oh, well, yeah, you can do it. Well, see, if I had known you could do that, I wouldn't have done these 4 things that let you do it. If I know that, you can just all of a sudden just to say that I'm going to roll this die and every number I get means you lose that many guys. You never mentioned that. That's why would I ever let you have that die? So don't be that guy either. Don't be the shark. If you're showing off games, the reason you should be showing it off is, again, you're being an ambassador. You want to grow the hobby. And you grow the hobby by letting people have fun. And if you are the only person having fun, great. Eventually, you will have you to play with. So I hope you enjoy solo player games. And as Brad said, the whole thing with hand wipes, there's the general con etiquette of the whole be a clean person. If I'm going to be spending 3 hours sitting next to you, don't make it 3 hours that I will regret for the rest of my life because I had to claw my own eyes out of my face because they were burning so much from your stench. That's a whole different level of general con etiquette. But it's just, you just have to remember that, everyone is at this thing to have fun. And you have to be able to judge the people that you're with. This does require something that a lot of gamers don't have, which is, I don't think empathy is the right word, but a lot of gamers don't have the social knowledge, I guess, or social skills to know when they themselves are being a bit annoying.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. I mean, it can be hard, and not everyone's going to be, a wizard at this. But look around, and if no one's laughing at your jokes ever, and no one wants to make eye contact with you, those are generally bad signs. Or they're really, really, really shy.
Yeah,
but
there is that.
That is one of the things, too, is you want to gauge who you're with, especially when you're doing role-playing games, because there are people who play role-playing games because they like to be goofy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're playing in a game and no one's appreciating your goofiness, it doesn't mean you have to completely play it straight, but just maybe dial it back a little bit. Yes, you might not be able to have the full amount of fun that you want to have, but remember, it's not just about you. There are 3, 4, 5 other people at that table who are trying to have fun in their own way too. Don't be the alpha gamer who tells everyone else how to play the game, especially in role-playing games or any games that are cooperative. You can give advice, but wait until the person tries to make up their own mind first and tries to see if they come up with a good idea. And then you can give advice on what they should do. But don't just, if you're playing Pandemic with people, don't just suddenly say, you should go over here and cure that disease, and you should go over here and trade that card to him and then build a research. Don't automatically take control of the game. If you want to play a solo game, stay home, log onto your computer, and play many, many games you can play by yourself where you have complete control of everything. That's the number one thing is cons are not just about you. And that's one of the most important things to remember is that, there's a lot of other people there. And,
Yeah.
Hopefully at some point in your life you were taught, sharing is caring. And, it's you want these cons, you want people to keep coming back to these cons because they're having a good time, because more people at the cons, to a point, but it keeps the cons healthy and thriving, and it keeps the game companies coming in, it keeps people running the games. If the games are all bad, the people running the games don't want to run them anymore because the players all suck and hate it. The players don't want to come because the people running the games no longer care, and they make games that suck and everyone hates it. So it's a cycle that can quickly destroy, especially smaller cons. It can just eliminate them, where if you have a con that only has 200 attendees and 1 year 30, 40 people have a bad time, that's a third of the people, half to a third of the people sometimes who just are like, no, I don't want to go to that con. People there are jerks. Which is why when I go to Fire and Ice up in Manitowoc, it's a couple hundred people. It's one of the most open, inviting cons I've ever been to, where there's people who are very eager to teach games, and it's just a great group of people. And I'm not saying that, you don't have those at bigger cons. You have great people at other cons. I've played some games at Gen Con this year with some great people. But I also played with people who, they were there solely for themselves.
Yeah.
And the other thing along those lines is if you're playing games with friends at a con with other people, there are inside jokes, especially in role-playing games, where you have things that people will, and you'll throw these things around, and you'll do these things that make no sense to anyone who isn't in your little insular group. And no one likes being left out of the joke. So, again, try to rein those things in. And I know this sounds like I'm lecturing you on how to be a better person, which in a way I am. And I don't mean it to be solely a lecture. It's just that these are ways to just make cons in general better and make the experience better for everyone, which is what you want, if you want to keep having these things to go to.
Yeah.
And it's pay attention to what you're signing up for. If a game says no experience required, there's a good chance you're going to have brand new players in that game. Even if it's a more advanced game, if it says no experience required, we'll teach rules, that could very well mean you will have brand new players who have never played before. And if you don't want to play with them, don't sign up for those games. Or understand the fact that maybe it won't be the game that you want. Because, you know what, with new players, they're going to have more questions. If you have played Small World 50 times before, it's an easy game to teach. You might have someone who has never played Small World before who signs up for that game because, hey, I've been wanting to try this. This sounds fun. I'll sign up for it. And there you are, all of a sudden all mad because, well, this person doesn't know anything. Well, of course not. It's their first time playing the game. Stop being a jackass. And that's the other thing is there's games you love, but also I think one of the joys for me of cons is playing games I haven't played before, or that I don't get to play because my group doesn't play, game X. My group doesn't like the big heavy sit around and play the 5-hour war game. So try those games. Try and broaden your horizons. Maybe. You don't have to, but remember that, every game you play, you're one out of 2, 3, 4, 5 players.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, we all love games. That's what draws us all of these things. And I understand it can be hard at times. I for a long time was very much an introvert, and in some ways I still am when I'm around people I don't know. But once you're at that table, it kind of breaks down a lot of the barriers. I'm not saying it does for everyone, but also just know that not everyone's going to be on the same level you are all the time, which is the big thing to understand is try to have that E word, empathy, with other people at the table. And it'll be better for everyone in the long run.
No,
you know, you can walk away from that table going, "Hey, that was fun because I wasn't an asshole." I mean, you know, and just because you win doesn't mean you're an asshole. You can still win a game. That's absolutely fine. Go ahead and play to win. You know, if it's that type of game.
But it's how you win.
It's how you win.
Nobody likes a sore winner.
Yes, no one likes a sore winner. And if it's a game that you know you dominate at, and you show up and it's the, hey, I have never lost a game of Ticket to Ride. I always score points that people thought were impossible, and you show up and it's 4 new players or 3 new players, and you maybe dial it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, just because, again, you don't want to ruin the experience for everyone else. I mean, there are times when you can be cutthroat, but that's the thing, is you have to make that judgment call of when you can and when you shouldn't be that type of person. And it can be hard, and it takes practice to figure out what those limits are. But you can do it. I have faith in you.
No, absolutely. At the end of the day, you go there to have fun. And that's everybody's going there to have fun. So don't be a selfish asshole. Realize that other people are there to have fun too, and don't step on other people's fun, you know?
Yes.
Because as a group, as a community, the success of the community relies on each community member.
Yes.
So the ability for a community to grow is dependent upon the community itself. So just represent the community well, and don't be an asshole, and everybody will have a good time, and tell other people that they should go and have a good time to conventions and whatnot. It's important for the health of the community. So do your part. I sound like I'm a recruiting poster, but, you know, do your part.
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to read my pamphlet? And it's up to you to be the best version of yourself and help others have a good time if they ask for said help.
Yes.
That's the big thing. Don't tell somebody how they should have played something. Like you said, wait for if somebody, and you know, the times that I've gone to, well, when Gen Con was still in Milwaukee, that was the last big con that I went to. And I remember being at an event and I got my ass handed to me. And I looked at the person that I played, who obviously was far more experienced than I was. And I wasn't a sore loser. I asked the person, hey, I think I saw where the game went off the rails for me. What suggestions do you have for me? If you're serious about a game and you want to be better at it, it's better for you to find somebody to mentor you, at least at that moment in time, for you to find somebody who is more experienced than you and get recommendations for how to play better. I think that's what the community sometimes lacks, is general friendliness and sometimes not sharing how to be a better player when asked.
Yeah, I've actually heard the word spoken. What do I care? I'm not going to see these people again.
Yeah.
Let's hope for your sake that person that you just raffle stomped.
How about
curb stomped?
Curb
stomped. Let's just hope that, you know, they're not an EMT in the town you live in next time you choke on a chicken bone.
Yep.
So, And just the fact that too, it's that your negativity carries over to someone else's day, and then they are negative to someone else, and you create this chain of negativity, and next thing you know, Gen Con's moving out of your city. Maybe I don't know. I'm just saying. So yeah.
That's probably not what happened, but
no, it's not. But well, that was the people around the con. The businesses around Gen Con in Milwaukee were kind of like, all these people coming here and eating food and giving us money.
Yeah.
People are idiots. But yeah.
We don't want that.